Weekly Digest, a government information agency program that keeps you informed on what the administration has been doing that will create a better environment for citizens. I encourage you to stay tuned. In this week's presentation for the period April 25 to May 1, 2015, another school opens. Rice set to surpass current crop target, pediatric heart patients given a new lease on life, and Guyana now better equipped to deal with national emergencies. Guyanese children who suffer from congenital heart defects have been given a new lease on life. The Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, in collaboration with an international children's organization, is making this possible for several children.
The International Children's Heart Foundation, also known as the Baby Heart Foundation, has a target of conducting some 18 children's surgery for this year.
We also identified the lack of access to care and the lack of access to good diagnosis for these children. So now we were able to diagnose them, we weren't able to manage them, and many patients with heart disease in childhood need surgery. Adults with heart disease, a small proportion need surgery. Children with heart disease, I would say the majority really do need some kind of surgical intervention.
The Heart Foundation has been around for some 20 years and successfully completed some 7,500 surgeries in 32 countries. It has been working in Guyana since 2014, bringing critical support to the local healthcare system.
To train Guyanese people, Guyanese doctors, in order to do the pre-op assessment, in order to do surgery, and in order to take care of these patients after surgery. That is our main goal. So we will be successful when we don't need to come here anymore, because that means that the local team is able to perform what we've been teaching them for, X number of years.
Through the Baby Heart Foundation, the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation has also benefited from the donation of a heart-lung machine. A special intensive care unit was also constructed at the hospital to accommodate and provide better post-surgery care to patients.
The pursuit of hydropower resources is a priority for Guyana going forward. While this is so, several other areas across the country are to have their electricity supply boosted.
Among initiatives highlighted to be pursued and aid the transformation of the country's electricity sector is the utilization of the Low Carbon Development Strategy, the LCDS, and the development of the Amalia Falls hydroelectric project. In addition, there will be moves to promote and make more affordable the use of solar technologies, encourage the importation and installation of solar panels for both residential and commercial usage, and further the support of the implementation of wind farms to supply energy to the national grid. This will be done at the residential and commercial levels for off-grid applications. Efforts will also be made to aggressively pursue opportunities for increased biofuel production. All remaining unserved areas will be provided with electricity, and in hinterland communities where there are electricity systems, but there is a growing demand, expansion works will be carried out. Meanwhile, over in Cato Region 8, a PV diesel generation hybrid electricity system will be installed. There will be an extension of electricity systems at Oriala, Maracaibo, Siparuta, and St. Cuthbert's Mission, along with the procurement and installation of additional generators for Matthews Ridge, Maracaibo, and Siparuta.
Already, there is better interconnectivity among hinterland regions and between the hinterland and the coastland. Even though this is so, there are plans for a lot more development to enhance transportation and linkages. Amerindian development has been a major priority for the People's Progressive Party Civic. The Hinterland Roads program has been providing interconnectivity throughout communities. Roads developed under this program include those at Lethem, Aishalton, Meritzero Junction, Karasabay, Aichuni, Kwakwani, Baramita, and Santa Rosa, among others. Today, two of Guyana's interior regions, where accessibility once was very challenging, have now been linked. The road between regions 8 and 9 stretches dozens of miles into difficult terrain from Meritzero to Monkey Mountain.
This project includes the construction of road approximately 71 miles from Meritzero Junction to Monkey Mountain. Different contractors were subcontracted in different phases, such as Vivekanand Dalip was contracted for the installation of culverts. Cyril King was contracted to install bridges in excess of 1,000 feet in running length. And we have Oh My Gold Mine, who are the road contractor that build the road.
This Fairweather Road links to the Latham Road and leads to villages like Karasabai, Muraybaiko, Yurongparu, Tipiru, and Rokomoto. Some community roads were also done in Region 9, including at Sand Creek, Masara, and Parishara, Napi, Hiowa. Major plans are on stream to extend and improve the road networks in Regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. Also on the agenda are road improvement works in Matarkai, Mabaruma, Maruka, and in North, Central, and South Rupununi. Other road networks include Morai-Kabai to Linden, Waramadong to Kamarang, Chenapau to Paramakatoy, Kamana to Kanapang, Karisparu to Paramakatoy, and Chenapau to Meriwau and Madia. Road networks are critical to a country's development as they facilitate immediate and easier movement of perishable produce to marketplaces and also allow for a quicker response for medical attention. The rice industry has been performing excellently over the past few years, and from all indications, it will continue its wonderful performance as it is well on its way to surpassing its projected target for this current crop.
More than 75% of the current crop was harvested by the end of April, with regions 2, 3, and 4 almost completed. By this time, the 73,365 hectares harvested had yielded 278,000 tons of rice. However, like any other booming sector, with success comes some challenges, and in this sector it's no different. One of the current issues is the delay in payment to farmers in Region 2 due to the lack of adequate milling facilities. Head of the Rice Producers Association, Dharam Kumar, has pointed out that the need for millers to invest in more facilities has arisen to ease the burden off of farmers. The good performance of the sector has been due to several factors. The Ministry of Agriculture, in collaboration with the Guyana Rice Development Board, GRDB, has been introducing high-yielding and less vulnerable new rice varieties.
Stay tuned. More of the Weekly Digest after the break.
The Amalia Fault Hydropower project is essential for a vibrant manufacturing sector. Under the flagship of the LCDS, Norway has transferred earnings from its partnership with Guyana, amounting to some $80 million to the Inter-American Development Bank to fund a part of Guyana's equity share in the project. High amongst the priorities will be ensuring the achievement of more affordable and more reliable energy. Government will deliver the Amalia Fall Hydropower project along with all of its attendant benefits. It is expected that there will be an achievement of financial closure and commencement of the construction of this project during 2015. A message from the Government Information Agency. The Community Development Initiative Plan, CDP, under the Amerindian Development Fund is a project introduced by the PPPC administration to secure livelihood for the Amerindian villages and hinterland communities. Already 25 communities have received $125 million to embark on agriculture, mining and tourism projects, among several others. Additionally, 161 communities are to benefit in the second phase, which will see $1.3 billion being disbursed. A message from the Government Information Agency.
To ease traffic congestion along the East Bank Highway, which is a critical thoroughfare for accessing the city, plans are afoot to construct a new bypass linkage from Eccles to Diamond. Additionally, the feasibility study for the East Coast East Bank Bypass Road has been completed, and government will be examining how to advance this huge project.
You're with the Weekly Digest, a program produced by the Government Information Agency. The People's Progressive Party civic government has created a sound economy, and while it has been faring well in this regard, other sister CARICOM nations have not been experiencing similar fortunes. This stable economic situation has resulted in a show of continued confidence by investors in Guyana.
The Texelia University turned the stud for its $20 million campus, which is expected to complement Guyana's human capital development thrust. The university, in partnership with University of Central Nicaragua, trains over 1,600 plus students from more than 60 countries. It is expected to take international as well as local students.
Here, students from all over the globe come to this incredible destination, a place where possibility, promise, and potential add to your natural resources to immerse themselves in the study and acquisition of knowledge. What they find here is a place of sanity, a balance in a world that at times can feel out of balance.
The commissioning of the Qualfund Contact Center at Eccles has created the opportunity for more training and jobs for Guyanese with its new $12 million multi-building campus. Qualfund also has centers at Betavawacton and Sparendam.
I've had the privilege of seeing how your company has established and grown and expanded its footprint in Guyana, and how you've literally transformed lives by employing thousands, literally thousands of Guyanese persons and improving their lives. And I saw a sign coming in there, I don't quite remember the words, but something about best kept secret and improving lives. And it struck me on how appropriate that sign was, because I have seen how persons have walked through your doors, found employment, and improved their own lives.
Meanwhile, the Marriott Hotel project, which recently opened, has created a link for tourist investment. It has also seen the employment of Guyanese. With this and several other new hotels opening their doors for business, they all represent the confidence in Guyana's economy.
Guyana's ability to respond to emergencies has been boosted as the country is now equipped with emergency operation centers in Georgetown and Timehri.
The two disaster response agencies located at the base camp in Guyana, Georgetown and Camp Stevenson, Timehri, will improve the capabilities and capacities of the nation's response to disaster.
Let us recognize that we're not isolated, that indeed, as my colleague would say, it's not that good by Guyana, it's that all over the world, disasters, natural disasters often, and man-made disasters I must mention too, but disasters in general afflict humanity. And we have been part of the groundswell, not because of what, or not only because of what happened to us here in Guyana, but a recognition that humanity is besieged by disasters and its root causes.
In 2005, Guyana experienced one of the worst flood situations, which affected 20 to 30% of the population. At that time, the country was ill-prepared to deal with the situation. Since then, the government of Guyana has embraced a concept of comprehensive disaster management. The central focus is to place greater emphasis on the issues of climate change, to incorporate more prevention and mitigation measures, and to integrate its components into the national disaster risk management structure.
The fact that in 2015, my friends, that we have arrived at this signal moment in collaboration with the internal and external stakeholders for Guyana to be a member, to have developed those instruments to make it resilient, to make it more resilient for that matter, to the ravages of disasters, I think we will all agree, is noteworthy.
The Timehri facility is also being used for training in disaster risk management and promoting a greater understanding among the relevant agencies in the changes evident in Guyana's weather patterns and how these relate to the current worldwide phenomena of global warming and climate change.
Government's commitment to ensure quality education is delivered equitably to every child has again been manifested, as the Education Ministry recently commissioned a nursery and secondary education institutions in Good Hope and Lancaster, respectively.
The state-of-the-art nursery school at Good Hope on the east coast of Demerara was constructed to the tune of $50 million and adds to the 56 of such facilities already existing in Region 4. The school, which is located obliquely opposite the site earmarked for the construction of the Good Hope Secondary School, will accommodate 150 nursery students residing in the relatively new community.
This event is the fulfillment of a promise that I think we at the Ministry of Education take extremely seriously. The promise to the nation that we would have made that we will ensure at every turn that we provide the best quality of education where possible for the nation's children. At the Ministry of Education, you would find some extremely committed professionals. Professionals who come from all walks of life, who come from various ethnicities, from various political persuasions, and define in very different ways. What binds us all is a commitment to ensuring that we fulfill the promise to the nation and that we do what is necessary to ensure that education is delivered equitably and in a very strategic manner to the nation. Our strategic plan really outlines our projections, our vision for the years going forward. Ensconced there, you would find that we would have outlined a clear plan of action for early childhood education.
Meanwhile, as government continues in its quest to achieve universal secondary education, a new wing was constructed at the Lancaster Secondary School, Unity Mahaika. This extension facilitates a computer lab outfitted with 17 computers and an industrial engineering department to complement the already existing home economics and industrial technology departments.
At the broader national level, we at the Ministry of Education are committed to ensuring that we put the best policies in place to guarantee our children, as far and wide as possible, a high quality of education. As you would have heard earlier, we've committed ourselves in the not too distant future to ensure that we have what is termed universal secondary education, where every single student emerging from a primary school can be assured of a seat in a discrete secondary education institution. As far as we've gone, we still have some way to go, but I was assured by the regional education officer that a number of pre-existing primary tops have been amalgamated here. And so for this entire stretch of land, all the way up to Enmore, I understand, there are no more primary tops, and all of our children in this area can access discrete secondary education, and that is the step in the right direction, and really your efforts need to be applauded.
Recently, a new nursery school was commissioned at number 77 Village East, Berbice, Carantine. This modern facility was built to the cost of $82.3 million and is equipped with a sick bay, kitchen, administrative department, and a washroom facility, among other departments, and has the capacity to house 120 students or 20 per classroom.
Stay tuned, more of the Weekly Digest after the break.
Education is a fundamental building block for human development. 22 years ago, only 32% of our children had access to education. Today, education is accessible to every Guyanese child. Some 1,000 new schools have been built or refurbished throughout the country, and university education has expanded with a new campus in Berbice. The achievement of excellence in education is no longer confined to only students in Georgetown. Now, students from other regions are successfully topping the country and the Caribbean. These achievements and investments in education have brought positive recognition for Guyana and Guyanese everywhere. Our country has achieved the Millennium Development Goal of universal primary education. It is therefore not mere coincidence that education receives the largest allocation of the national budget. This is a demonstration of government's commitment to the development of students by preparing them for the future and helping their dreams become reality. Education, flying the flag of excellence as Guyana blooms.
During Cabinet's statutory meeting at the Office of the President on April 28, several issues of national concern were discussed. The media was subsequently briefed on Cabinet's deliberations.
At least 7 observer missions have confirmed their presence for the May 11 general and regional elections, according to head of the Presidential Secretariat, Dr. Roger Luncheon. He made the announcement during his weekly post-cabinet media briefing. The observers are from the Caribbean Community, the Commonwealth, the United Nations, Carter Center, Organization of the American States, Union of South American Nations, and Suriname. Dr. Luncheon also noted that Kaichor News and Starbuck News reports on the E-Link fiber optic cable are completely false and baseless.
Kaichor News had an exclusive interview with the head of eGov, Alexei Ramotar. And it would be good for readers and for you members of the media who seem to be unaware of the contents of that exclusive interview as you go about being party to, either directly or indirectly, consciously or subconsciously, in perpetrating this assault on the intelligence of Guyanese people, and indeed this reckless abandon in dealing with the truth.
He also pointed out that government's concerns about some details of GCOM's Elections Day operations are still to be addressed. Among them include the voting by the disciplined forces, the vetting of GCOM's staff, the selection of polling places, and proxy voting.
The voting by members of the disciplined forces, and specifically the details of the preparations and the approaches by GCOM that have yet to be publicly aired and was specifically provided to stakeholders.
Cabinet has given the green light to 4 more contracts. These include the supply of fuel and lubricants to the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, the procurement of HF radios for communications, the supply and delivery of motor control centers for the 6th cycle upgrade at the Shelter Belt, and the purchase of laptops for the Guyana Improving Teacher Education Program.
And now for perspectives with Dr. Prem Prem.
Very shortly, Guyana will vote in its general and regional elections 2015. Billed in some quarters as the mother of all elections, which for me means deepen democratic gains and continue to move Guyana forward. But it also means that bringing out the vote becomes decisive, where literally every vote counts and where the PPPC must do its utmost to bring all its supporters to the polls. It is remarkable that the coming elections represent the 3rd time that the PPP, as the government, has had to relinquish office before the statutory due date for elections. The first time was in the 1960s. The second occasion related to the Herdmanston occurred in 1998 and now in 2015. The PNC in 1992 bequeathed to the people of Guyana a diseased legacy, a legacy that destroyed the culture of hopefulness, and indeed a legacy that was an almost 3-decade-long train wreck. And also there was the question of financial viability in 1992 that took the PPPC government almost a decade to achieve solvency. And so when critics refer to the PPPC's tenure of 20-odd years in office, they fail to consider this 10-year period of insolvency, which slowed down development work. In effect, the PPPC government only had about 13 years for development work and not 23 years. The AFC's one-line no confidence motion against the PPPC government saw the light of day, which reads thus, and I quote, "Be it resolved that this National Assembly has no confidence in the government." End of quote. What is the AFC's beef with the government when good things are happening? Why was this no confidence motion? Because look at some of Guyana's record, or the government's track record. The debt now is about 60% of the economy, when in 1992 it was about almost 8 times that. Today, less than 5% of the revenue services the debt, when it was about 94% of the revenue in 1992. And again, the economy in 1992 was about $300 million US. Today, it is well over $3 billion US. At the Bank of Guyana, reserves in 1992 were $100 million US. Today, it's well over $800 million US. And over the last 3 years, APNU AFC cut $89 billion from the budget, inclusive of $4 billion for Amerindian development and $200 million for the University of Guyana's student loan. I should also say that almost 100% of immunization is occurring in Guyana against diphtheria, mumps, measles, and rubella, yellow fever, polio, and TB. That is the BCG vaccine for TB. And in 2010, about 90% of the population had access to improved water and about 85% to improved sanitation. Those figures are even higher today. And again in 1992, the Guyanese people need to know that about 2/3 of students in this country did not receive regular secondary education, as they were placed in secondary departments of primary schools called TOPS or in community high schools. Today, Guyana is in the proximity of universal secondary education. And these lists, or this list of developmental gains, and this is not an exhaustive list, makes nonsense of the AFC's no confidence motion. Soldiering with a one-seat parliamentary majority, APNU and the AFC hatched a strategy from the onset of their tenure to obstruct the PPPC government's development plans and to bring the PPPC government down to its knees before the due date of the next statutory elections in 2016. This obstructing and ugly behavior of APNU-AFC coalition has transformed it into a party of no, for its agenda since the start of the 10th Parliament definitively has been an anti-PPPC agenda. For instance, the anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism amendment bill is still waiting to become law. APNU-AFC's obstruction has hurt many of the PPPC's capital projects, such as the Chedi-Jagan Airport Modernization Project, Ogle Aerodrome Assistance, Civil Aviation Equipment, and Hinterland Coastal Airstrips, among others, and effectively terminated the Amila Hydropower project. These capital projects, if successfully operational, would increase employment in Guyana. Early this month, Carl Greenwich filed a High Court writ to stop the IDB, that's the Inter-American Development Bank, from releasing $17 million for one of our developmental projects. All because there is no parliament at this time. But he himself, as a previous or a former Minister of Finance, did the same thing when he was there as Minister of Finance under the PNC government. Undoubtedly, APNU-AFC is an obstructing, do-nothing coalition. Thank you.
And with those features, we have come to the end of this edition of Weekly Digest. But before we go, here's a repeat of the highlights. Another new school opens. Rice set to surpass current crop target. Pediatric heart patients given a new lease on life. And Guyana now better equipped to deal with national emergencies. Please note that Weekly Digest and other government information can be found on our website www.gina.gov.gy, or you can send us your comments and suggestions at ginagovgy@gmail.com. You can also read our newspaper, The Guyanese, online at theguyanese.gy. Join us again next week as we highlight more of the government's programs and policies that are aimed at enhancing the lives of citizens. I am Shanti Goberdan. Do have a safe week ahead. Goodbye.